Alright, more Youthberk support, this time the official new RevolForm, which also fixes some of Youthberk's problems. So let's begin, but first, cards for the last few days. Let's start off with the Dokkovan stuff with the Boromagus support, with the first card being an order card, Force Rating Illegible, which is grade 3 normal order, and you can only play it if your Vanguard is Boromagus, and you play it by counterblasting 1. Soul Charge 3, choose one of your Vanguards, and during that turn it gets this ability. Count Vanguard. If you have 10 or more cards in Soul, all your front row rear guards get plus 5k power. Technically, this is going to be the main replacement for Pandemonium Tactics for Boro, because this works straightly with Boro, and yes, you do lose one Soul Charge, but still worth it for the extra power buff, and combined with Boro's soul sucking skill to superior call more stuff, works out pretty well. Next, Licktech Lasher, which is a grade 2 with 2k base power, so keep that one in mind. With the skill Auto Rearguard, when this card attacks, if your Vanguard is Boromagus, for every card in your soul, plus 2k until the end of that battle. Because Boro is a soul charge heavy deck, the idea is more soul, more power, of course, and by the time you hit Boro, you should hit 7, and 7 times 2 equals 14k, and on average, Boro should be able to hit 10 on the first grade 3 turn. So that will be plus 20k power right there, which is not too bad. My gripe is that it's on attack, so attacking into this can actually suck. But it is a decent card for Boro nonetheless, because you can always put this into soul and then suck it back out and then make it into a 30k beater, at least, because that's basically the main idea about this card. It's basically supposed to be a big beater for Boro that can probably do it twice. And speaking of sucking out for Boro, we got Attract Inverse, which is a grade 3 with 13 power, and the skill is Auto, when placed on rearguard from Soul through Boromagus. If your Vanguard is Boromagus, costs discard a card from hand, choose one grade 2 or lower unit from your Soul and call it to rearguard in the same column as this unit. Most likely, you're going to be calling a grade 1 to be a booster for this unit, which of course means more power, and if there's any type of support cards for back row attackers or anything, well, you got more targets. Definitely a good addition for Boromagus. Moving on to the non-Dokkovan cards, first off, a Stokea triple rare, Fraternal Maiden Arcellus, grade 3, 13 power and skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard from hand, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost count +1, soul +1, discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and then choose one card from your drop zone and call it to rearguard if that card is grade 2 or less. But if it has the same card name as your Vanguard, you return it to your hand. So basically, you can recycle Persona Rides. And if you do not have a Persona Ride card in your drop zone, well, you basically still get a call. But considering that you can Soul Blast your target, technically you can get your Persona Ride target back to your hand. Overall, pretty cool. And it also mills your deck as well, so it does help out Zorga, for example. But just being able to return a Persona Ride, that is definitely one of my favorite parts about this card. And I think this might be a staple for Stokea. Next to a rare of Dark State, Grim Reaper Lurking in the Shadows, Zamort. Grade 3, 13 power and skills. Act rearguard. Costs counter +1, put this to soul, the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one card from among them, and call it to rearguard, and then put the rest to your soul. You get 2 soul for 1 counterblast, plus 1 replacement of a rearguard. That isn't too bad. Not only that, this is a grade 3, which is a nice choice soul charge for Drag Jewel, for example. And technically, you choice soul charge one of the 2 cards at the top of your deck, which also really helps out, depending on what deck you play. And since I'm choosing Drag Jewel, this is definitely going to be one of those cards I might actually run. And then another decent rare for Prayer Dragons, a Soul Equipped Dragon Valsevul. Grade 2, 10 power and skills. Auto, when this card becomes an original dress, cost count +1, choose one grade 1 or less Prayer Dragon from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. It negates some of your minuses for your crossover dress, and that is very important considering that it costs at least 2 cards for a crossover dress. Technically 3 if you count the 3rd unit. And 2, bringing back a booster along the board is very helpful considering that you are going to be losing quite a bit of units, and recovering that minus really helps, especially to make double crossover dress plays. Yeah, sure, it has to be drop zone, but you can always just discard it through a lot of means. Not saying this is going to be a definite 4 but it is a really good option compared to some other Prayer Dragons we have so far. Alright, now to the Tuesday stream. So here's a reminder of the presentation tomorrow for all Bushiroad card games. Moving on, here are the promos that I'm not going to really go over. The first one will be the V promos, and the second one is going to be the D promos. And some of the unrevealed ones, as you can tell from the bottom left, we got a Thegria order card along with a Tamiura. Been waiting to see those for a while and still wondering when they will be printed on the TCG English side. And now to the Youthberk support itself, the first card being Wayward Therapy Angel, which is a grade 1 with 10k base power, keep that one in mind. Obviously, you're not going to be able to ride it, and that's what the first skill said. And it also cannot be normal call to rear guard from hand. But the second skill, auto, when this card is discarded from hand during your turn, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost soul blast 1, call this to back row rear guard. Obviously, since you're not going to be able to call this through normal means, you're going to have to superior call it, and the second skill is where it goes. And because Youthberk has a lot of searchers that require you to discard a card to do something, this is definitely a good way to recover. And getting a 10k booster out, that's not too bad. And considering that this is not even Youthberk lock, technically you could even run this with Bastion. Bastion does have some discard support cards, so running this with Bastion is also possible. Not sure if you're going to run it with Bastion, considering that Bastion wants a bunch of grade 3s. At most, maybe sorcerers as well, but you have options with this one. Next, Witch of a Combination, Sequina. Grade 1, 80 power and skills. Count rearguard during turn. If your Vanguard is Youthberk, this card gives us 2k power. 10k booster, why not? But the second skill is where it matters and does fixes Youthberk a bit, because it is auto rearguard. When your Vanguard is placed with a Revel Dress ability, cost put this to soul, choose one of your Vanguards, and increase its drive check to 1 until the end of the turn. This is very important, because when you perform your Revel Dress, you're going to be drive -2, which means your Vanguard is going to be attacked with 0 drive checks. And considering that this drive checks changes to 1, that basically now gives you a second Vanguard attack that actually has attack pressure to it. And yes, this ability activates first before Gus, meaning that if you combo this with Gus, that can actually be a twin drive Vanguard second attack right there. So this is definitely going to be most likely a 4-up for Youthberk, because it just fixes some of its problems where Youthberk doesn't have a second Vanguard attack technically, all because it doesn't really have a drive check. But with this, not only you get another soul, you actually get a second Vanguard attack that actually has a drive check pressure to it. Finally, which is also the anime card reveal, Youthberk RevolForm Tempest. Grade 3, 13 power and skills. Auto, when placed on Vanguard by Revel Dress ability, all your front row units gives us 5k power until end turn. Then, cost count plus 1, reveal the top 2 cards of deck, choose one of your opponent's rearguards with the same grade of one of the revealed cards, and put it to the bottom deck. And then you put all the revealed cards to the hand. And then second skill is the typical RevolForm ability, where at the end of the turn you choose a Revel Dress ability card from your soul and ride it as stand as rest. Overall, this is really good, and it does fixes some of Youthberk's problems. Because one thing is Youthberk doesn't really have a good going first RevolForm, and the other problem is that Youthberk doesn't really get too much hand advantage considering how much discard he has to do. And plus the Revel Dress itself, you're going to be losing a card from your hand. So not only this can recover your hand, it can also remove your opponent's field, and also give you a little small power up to your whole front row, which is another problem that Youthberk seems to be having, because you have to run quite a good amount of grade 3s, because RevolForms are all grade 3s. So in many ways, this card actually fixes a lot of problems for Youthberk, and now I'm more excited for Youthberk more than ever now. So really awesome indeed. So that's it for these reviews for the new Youthberk support. What do you guys think of them? Like usual, the introduction of a deck is going to have problems until the second one where it fixes it, and fix it did. And now since we know Youthberk's theme is technically the element theme with fire, water, and I presume wind as well, are we going to get earth soon for the next set? Just curious. And then eventually, are we going to get some sort of ultimate Youthberk that uses the 4 elements all combined as one? Because that's what it seems Youthberk is going to be doing. You can tell based on the color armor that he's turning into, and basically the name as well. But anyway, I am still excited for Youthberk. I just like the design, and especially the concept of Youthberk changing forms. But anyway, that's it for this, and see you all next time.